A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mauni and I warmly welcome all of you to StudyIQ. I hope you all are doing good, dear friends. At StudyIQ, we provide pen drive and tablet courses for various different exams. At present, up to 40% off is available on our pen drive and tablet courses, and this is going to last till 27th January 2017. To find out more about it, all you have to do is check out StudyIQ.com. Now let's have a positive start. The darkest nights produce the brightest stars. That basically means more pain, more gain. No pain, no gain. To enjoy the fruits, you have to go through a little bit of pain here and there. With this, dear friends, I would also like to mention here that you would be able to download PDF of this lecture from my Facebook page, which is Prashanti Mawani. And if you want to get in touch with me, then this is the page that will connect you and I. With this, let's see what we have got in the Hindu today. The first item that we have is Editorial Reform with Caution. Now this one is talking about a committee report. The name of the committee is Justice V.S. Malimath Committee of 2003. Now this committee came out with 158 recommendations to sort out criminal justice system of our country. Now, dear friends, see this 158 recommendations, most of the recommendations given in or coming out from this Malimath committee is talking about changing or making a sort of 180-degree turn, you can say, right, or completely changing the way things are going on with our criminal justice system. You can also say that it is talking about A to Z, everything should be changed. Now there are some controversial recommendations as well in this Malimath committee report, but before that, let me throw some light on criminal justice system. Now criminal justice system is not just about courts, right? It starts or you can say you can have your input, right? Then you have your this process, and then you have your output or result. It looks a bit like we are talking about a factory. Yes, this is how things are produced in a factory. You add your raw material, then you do some sort of process, and then you have your final product. Anyways, here the first step, right, if you ask me, the first step, if we want to clean our, or if we want to have this 180-degree turn of our criminal justice system, then first of all we have to work on prevention of crime, right? This is very important. Prevention of crime is very important, because the main job of police is not just to catch the criminals, but they should play a sort of proactive role in ensuring that there are as less crime taking place in the society as possible. So prevention is the first step. Just in case if you find any sort of criminal activities or activity, then you have to have the best possible investigation. Now this is possible when you have separate branch. At present what we have is police officers who are looking after law and order thing. They are being asked to do this investigation and other things, right? And the way people are identified, of course, see, everything being more formal is not always good. I'm not saying that you should have everything as per, you should run as per the books. When I say as per the books, I'm talking about, of course, not breaking the law, but sticking with books all the time is not that practical. If you find someone, say for example, it's a police officer or a person working in law and order department, and if that person is having all that necessary qualities required for investigation, right, then that person should be transferred ASAP. And the people who are looking after this investigation department, they should just focus on investigation department. You should relieve them from other things like you know, making huge amount of files and doing unnecessary VIP duties and things like that, because this is here investigation requires you need that attention to detail thing. If you don't have that, if you are lacking that, then you are not fit for this thing. Anyways, the other thing that I would like to add here is that once we sort out this police thing, now we are talking about smart police as well, isn't it? but just smart police, the idea of smart police is limited to technology. Now technology is a tool, no doubt. We require good quality of technological tools and things like that, but what about the human touch? This is a thing that is missing in our police system or police department, right? Human touch, we have lost this thing called human touch. So this is something that we have to work on. Apart from that, now we reach to second stage, you can say, and here you have this when I said there are other things as well. Of course you can add here like human touch. When I say human touch in this first portion, then you can add how to deal with the family members of victim, how to deal with these criminals, etc. Second stage is basically, you can say, your court, right? In court you have advocates as well as you have your judges, right? And you can also add witness and society and things like that. Now the biggest problem that we have is lack of infrastructure, or you can say lack of connectivity. See, a couple of days ago this thing was in news that a dreaded criminal was being taken to the court. At that point of time, he took the gun of policeman, he shot some policeman, and then he became a runner, or at the present he is absconding. This sort of things can be sorted out using good quality CCTV, or you can say, when I say CCTV, I mean to say that video conference, right? We should set up video conference thing, so you don't have to give too much stress. It will relieve police as well from taking back and forth, running from court and jails. The other thing is that more technology, more good infrastructure is required, digitization of all the documents and other things. And the way the things are going on at present, first of all, advocates charging too high amount, fees. Their fees are too much for a common man. The other thing is that repeated adjournments. We have to sort this thing out. We have to get rid of this repetitive adjournments. If someone is feeling pain in their tummy, then as well they can ask for a next date. Apart from that, appointing judicial staff as well as more judges are also required at tier 3 courts. So these are the things that we have to do. This is a big picture that I have presented in front of you. Of course, there are some minor changes as well, but for your general studies, this sort of understanding is more than enough. Now, this controversial recommendations that I was talking about, basically this Malimath committee is talking about making confessions to a senior police officer admissible as evidence. Now, this is something that is definitely controversial, and this is something that we should not rush in adopting this sort of recommendations, because the thing is that even today, right, we have some top quality police personnel in our country. Yesterday it was in news that we have caught an absconder, Simeon IM founder, right? We have caught a terrorist who was absconding from last 10 years. He was accused in this 2008 Gujarat blast as well. Now, catching that person definitely requires courage, and you need proper planning and things like that, and it's not something that you do overnight. This is something that you would be laying and designing the plan and executing it for a very long period of time. So of course we have good police officers in our country, male and female both, but even today, right, there is lack of trust when it comes to police. And if you make this thing that if you confess in front of a senior police officer, and if this is taken as an admissible, or this thing is considered as an evidence in the court of law, then this is something that is going to create many troubles in future, right? This is going to shake the whole you can say evidence system and things like that. Anyways, back in 2007, this Madhava Menon Committee's draft national policy on criminal justice talked about low rate of conviction. This is a big problem. It is basically highlighting the problems that are there at present with our criminal justice system. First one is that low rate of conviction. This gives a sort of confidence to all these dreaded criminals. They feel that nothing is going to happen to them. The other thing is that apparent role of money and influence. Applies to advocate, applies to police and everything. So money has become a sort of decider. Delayed and denied justice system. 20 years, 15 years if it is going to take, then of course this sort of things are going to happen. Lack of protection of witness. Many times we find that the people who are witness, the people who are having credible information, if they have witnessed something, then we see this is quite common in our country, that they are killed or they become hostile in the court. They will change their statement because of various pressure tactics used by these criminals and inadequate attention to crime victims. We don't look after our victims very well. In fact, this is a very sad thing that women, rape victims, they are ostracized in our society. This is something very sad. Generally speaking, I'm not saying this takes place all across the board, but of course you can understand that when I say ostracized, or when they are been, they are made felt like they are the criminal, this sort of things do take place. So this is a very important thing, and the thing is that this is directly associated with your civil services. So all those students who are preparing for UPSC, you may find a question on police system, on criminal justice system, because you will become part of this thing in near future. Second one is about World Economic Outlook that is released by International Monetary Fund. Very important for your MCQ, you find this sort of questions that International Monetary Fund produces or comes out with a report. You have to select from the below. You'd be given ease of doing business report and other things. So remember, it is World Economic Outlook. And don't get confused with this thing that World Economic Forum comes out with this World Economic Outlook. No, it is International Monetary Fund. Now let's go through what this editorial has to teach us. Basically, the good news is that global economy is going up, or it is basically picking up since it is in this pickup state since mid 2016, and it is believed, or it is projected by this World Economic Outlook report, that 3.9% is going to be its it is going to touch this 3.9% growth rate in both 2018 and 2019. If the global economy is going at this rate, then this is not bad at all, because it was in a very bad shape a couple of years ago. Particularly if you go back 10 years, 10 years ago, it was in a very, very bad shape. Anyways, if we talk about India, then good news for India is that we are going to touch 7.4% in 2018 and 7.8 in 2019. If we do this thing, or if we are able to touch these figures, then we are going to be the fastest growing major economy in the world. We are going to keep China far behind us. And the good news is that even the European countries, in the European economy as well, the demand, due to stronger demand, the economy is going up. So very good news for India again. If the world economy is picking up, it is good for India, for our exports. If European economy is going up, then as well it is good for our country. Now, having said that, let's look at some of the threats that are there. And the biggest threat is rising debt of countries. Countries borrowing too much money from someone else, maybe from their bank or maybe from other country. And if your economy is expanding, or if your GDP growth is picking up, but at the same time, if you are borrowing too much money, then this is going to be detrimental. Because if you go back in 2008, we had this global financial crisis. And since then, what a method that has been adopted by banks and countries around the world is to make loans cheaper. This is also known as easy monetary condition, or you can say adding liquidity, abundant liquidity, and things like that. There are different terminologies, but basically what it means is that you make loan cheaper. When I make loan cheaper, then naturally it will create a nudge, or it will create a sort of pull factor, isn't it? You will feel like, if the loan is this cheap, so let me borrow a loan. I'll give you one example. Say, for example, if you are planning to buy a mobile phone, right? Because we all are youngsters, I think that mobile phone is a thing that, generally speaking, everyone would like to have a latest one, isn't it? Generally speaking. Anyways, this is a hypothetical example, so you don't have to take it personally, right? Just kidding. Anyways, dear friends, so let's take this example of mobile phone. Now, say you have a mobile phone called A to Z, right? And this phone is the latest one in the market. At present, you are using number 1, 2, and 3, and this is not that latest. Now, if you think that this is too expensive for, say, it is costing you what, 1,000 rupees, right? So this is something that you don't have at present, but you are planning to buy it after 6 months, right? This is your plan, that after 6 months you are going to buy this A to Z phone. Now imagine if your parents, right, if they tell you that they can give you a loan to buy this phone, right? You don't have to pay any interest for this loan. All you have to do is make sure that you pay back to your parents in the next 6 months, right? You can pay however you like. You can pay 500 rupees now, and then you can pay 200 rupees within 2 months, and then you can finish this whole amount. Anyway, now the other deal that you have is that forget that your parents are going to support you. A friend of yours or someone else tells you that you can buy this phone now. That person will pay for this phone, but after 6 months you have to pay that person 1,500 rupees. Naturally, you will say that forget about it. It is better to wait for 6 months, right? Generally speaking. So this is how it works with loans as well. If the loans are cheaper, then naturally people will borrow it. If the loans are too expensive, if the interest rate is too high, then people will stay away from it. And when the banks, right, when they flood the economy with money, when they are giving away loans and people are borrowing it and things like that, and then you have this a sort of push, or you can say the wheel of economy comes into motion, which is not bad, but this is not something that you should be doing all the time, right? This itself indicates, right, if you are in this sort of situation, then you can use it for, say, for example, 1 year or 2 year. You can give money, or you can give loan at cheaper rates. You can increase this liquidity, but later on, right, then you have to also work simultaneously. You have to also work on your structural reforms. If you don't do structural reforms, then this is going to create more problems in future. So I hope this thing is clear. Now moving on to road safety. It's something that we are not good with, right, at all. I'm sorry, but this is a reality of our country. Motor vehicles, and you might have been across this figure that every year 1.5 lakh people die on Indian roads, making it the worst, or you can say the most dangerous road in the world. Around 5 lakh people, right, they become disabled due to road accidents. And if you divide this 1.5 lakh figure with 365, then you find that every day, if you have a plane crash, a big jumbo plane crashes and kills around 300 or 400 people every day. This is something that takes place in our country every single day, right? So this is because it is happening in sort of incrementally, so, or it is something, this sort of figures, we don't take it the way of we basically are not, our attention, right, is not attracted towards this sort of figures, but this is a reality. Now we are going to have this new motor vehicle amendment bill, which was passed by the Lok Sabha in 2017, and Rajya Sabha, if the Rajya Sabha passes this bill, then we are going to have the latest, or you can say the changes this bill will bring are something that we have never seen before in our country. It talks about uniform driving license systems. It talks about this protection of children and vulnerable road users. It talks about rationalizing penalties and many more other things too. Now, World Health Organization points out that for effective road safety management, it is imperative to have institutionalized and sustainable data system. This is the thing that we are lacking at present. Now, the biggest problem that I see is that license system, because before license as well, you have to go through a bit of process. If your driving system is a bit more robust, then first of all you have to understand, you have to go through the theory portion, right? You have to read, you have to understand what different signs means, right? Then once you are good with it, you give a theory test, and then once you pass this theory test, then you have to take driving lessons, right? Driving lessons, basically you join a proper driving class, and the people who are, or you can say these trainers, right, their training should be checked. They're checking whether they are professional enough or not, should be robust enough, right? So because if you are learning from someone who is a bad driver or rider in himself, then you cannot expect that person to teach you properly. A couple of days ago, basically I was having a conversation with someone, and you find this sort of views many times, you find this sort of adverts as well, and a person told me that women driver are not that safe. I asked that person a question that if this is a reality, then we should think about who is teaching a woman to drive. It is their husbands, it is their fathers, isn't it, or brothers. They are the ones who are teaching them how to drive or how to ride. So the blame should go on the teacher rather than the student. So same thing applies here. It's not about male and female. See, if you go in UK, then you find that insurance, right, car insurance is not something that the way it works here, right? Over there, basically you insure yourself. It means if you are going to drive a car, then you have to insure your name on the car. So if you are driving that car, only then that car is going to be covered by insurance. And there are different rates for different age group and things like that, but for women the rates are a bit cheaper compared to men. It is not a subsidy, it is because they drive more safely. So these are the things, right? There are many other data that we need. This is the reason why this WHO is talking about institutionalized and sustainable data system. It's not only about how many accidents we are carrying. We have to calculate different figures as well, whether how much accidents do take place with fresh drivers, the one who has just got license, right? Most of the times you find that in the first year accidents do take place. So these are the figures that we don't have at present anyways. So we need to change this whole driving license system process. I was talking about this practical side driving training, and then you go to a very robust, right, technology driven. Of course you need a bit of manual touch too. You have to pass a very rigorous driving test, because it is about someone else's lives as well as your life too. So go through this robust you can say examination, and once you clear that, only then you will be issued a license. So this is the thing that is required. Now digitization has produced good result in terms of monitoring and enforcement in Kerala, and this should be applied in other parts of our country too. Since 2008, if you see till now, then 55,000 children have lost their lives in road accidents. And the biggest thing is that we don't use this seats, right? We don't use this thing in the cars, and if you use this, then we can save our small children. Many times you might have seen that the child would be playing on the dashboard, and a sudden brake will, of course, that child is going to hit his head on that dashboard. So these are some of the things. This indicates lack of awareness and things like that. Anyways, we have signed this Brasilia declaration on road safety, and we have committed that by 2020 we are going to reduce our accidents by 50%. Engineering is required on our roads, good sign and other things, and massive awareness drives, and people who are drinking and driving, the penalties should go up. If required, they should be jailed as well, strictly jailed, right? This is definitely they should be jailed with penalty. Safety belts and protective headgears should be made mandatory. They are mandatory, but implementation should also be implementation, right, is something that we are lacking when it comes to safety belt and protective headgear. So I hope I have explained enough on this thing. Now let's move on. This is about an interview of a former chief economic advisor. This person here, he has worked in different organizations at different level, right? So the things that he's sharing is very valuable. He talks about this digital economy. Of course, it's not that he's criticizing everything, but I have taken bits and pieces that are important for our exam. So very quickly, I will provide you the gist of this interview. On digital economy, he was asked, and he said that demonetization and things like that, we cannot have digital economy. We will have digital economy gradually, and because the thing is that half of the population, more than half of the population of our country is still living in the informal sector. So you cannot expect to match advanced economies digitization, right? It has to be, it will go up, no doubt, but with the help of policy intervention, right? You cannot push them. The other thing is regarding GST. He said that GST is a very good thing. It will produce result, no doubt, but the thing in which we have failed is planning and implementation. This one is about trade deficit with China. I must disagree with this statement here, that of course China, when we compare our trade with China, then we are the trade is basically tilted in favor of China. But investment from China is something that we don't discuss about. China has invested huge amount of money in our country. So rather than just selling our products to China, when investment is coming in, then we create more jobs and infrastructure and technology and things like that. So we should also compare this sort of things. Anyways, exports should, means you know, have GST IN and their refund of GST. This was one of the reasons why exports were down, but things are getting there slowly. Non-performing asset problem. He said that it had a slow build up over a very long period of time. It is not something that took place just in UPA government, and it is not something that you don't find in NDA government at all. No, this sort of things are wrong. It had a slow build up over a very long time. A country grows faster when you have a churn of ideas. Let me give you one example of remember a couple of days ago, one minister, the former IPS officer, Mr. Singh, Satyapal Singh, I guess his name is, he said that he does not believe in this Darwin theory. Now, whether he is right or wrong, that's altogether a different thing, right? That is a matter of science. But when he's coming out with this thing, then we should, you know, appreciate that idea. Of course, we expect that person to prove on what basis he is saying this thing. At the same time, the scientific community opposed this thing. Again, that is a good thing, because when you have dissent, when you have this two, you know, you have this position where people are arguing, and arguing not for personal reason, arguing for the sake of science. So they are going to produce, or they are going to present evidence, and at the end of the day, we will come to know what the truth is, isn't it? So this is the thing, right? The churn of ideas we should always appreciate, and the government as well as the society should keep its ears open for new ideas. We should appreciate our heritage, no doubt, but must not take that everything was created by us, you know, this sort of thing, that aeroplanes and other things were available 5,000 years ago. I'm not saying that that could not be, but at present, so far, we haven't got any sort of scientific evidence. So we cannot take it as a final word, right? We have to question our heritage too. The other thing is research. Regarding research, you cannot have research producing financial benefits all the time. Some sort of research products or things that come out from a research, they may add value in terms of making our society a bit more humane in a long term or in a short term. So it's not only about money. Just keeping our eye on profit would be short-sighted. And this sort of things, these are the things that he has talked about. And very quickly, this one is about governor, whether governor should omit part of their speech. Now the thing is, whenever whenever a governor or a president is giving a speech, then that speech is prepared by Council of Ministers, right? And you know that governor as well as president, they have to work on the aid and advice of when we talk about president, we have Prime Minister and Council of Minister, and when we talk about governor, we are talking about Chief Minister and his or her Council of Minister. Now the question is that say for example, if a governor is given, and he, in this case P. Sathasivam, who used to be Chief Justice of India, and he's the first Chief Justice of India to take a position of governor. Anyways, so he is governor of Kerala at present, and he skipped or he omitted some part of his speech. Now this is not the first time that we are seeing this thing. This has taken place earlier on as well. So there is a person called Sibranjan Chatterjee, and basically he is providing us with a bottom line that if the speech, or if the part of the speech is pertaining to a policy of the government, right? Policy of the government, then whatever the opinion of president or governor may be, they have to read that thing out. But because governor is as per the duties, and if you go through the duties and responsibilities of governor, then you also find that he has to uphold the constitution, he has to respect high courts and supreme courts and things like that. So if some sort of things, right, are inappropriate, right, things that are not related with policy, but some sort of sentences and things mentioned in the speech that he or she, the governor, finds inappropriate, then they can omit them. And of course the risk is that they are going to invite criticism, but if you go through the minute details of their job, then they can and they have to omit this thing. So that's the bottom line. With this, dear friends, we reach to news item. Supreme Court has clearly rejected Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh governments this decision that they will not allow this film Padmavat to be screened in the theaters. And Supreme Court has clearly stated that it is your duty, you have to look after law and order. And if people, at present, as we are talking, last night in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, there was a big sort of you can say this sort of activities, violent activities, many motorcycles, and a shopping mall was also burnt down. I'm not sure whether it is completely burned down or not, but definitely it was a big thing. There were many people, and firing was being conducted by police to control the crowd and things like that. So this is a very serious thing that is going on in our society at present. The other thing is that Prime Minister calls for protectionism as dangerous as terrorism. Now protectionism, this sort of things, we started seeing it since the inception of Mr. Trump, right, when he came to power, or when he was basically promoting himself during this election campaign. And since that point of time, he has been issuing many of this disruptive statements. And as he came to power, he stepped out of this Paris climate change, and he talked about this America first, and the visa system and other things. So basically this is called protectionism, and this is not just USA doing it. Of course, USA is a big country, and whatever USA does will have a sort of impact in Europe and other countries too, right? It is generally believed that whatever is done by USA is copied by UK too, and we saw this thing with Brexit, and there are other European countries who are demanding or trying to create this firewall to stop people from other parts of the world to come in and work in their country and things like that. So Prime Minister has said that protectionism is as dangerous as terrorism. and climate change. He said that we have to create this heaven of freedom so that we can freely exchange goods, services and people and investment. With this, dear friends, he has of course promoted India. He said that if you want wealth with wellness and peace with prosperity, then you should come to India. He talked about this youngsters getting radicalized and other things. I'm sure you know about all these things, so I'm not going into details. We are going to find some sort of analysis in near future on this World Economic Forum meeting that is taking place in Switzerland at present. India said to be in top 3, said our finance minister. At present, we are 5th biggest economy in the world, 5th largest economy in the world, and he said this during Asean India Business and Investment Meet. He said that in next 25 years, we will be among the top 3 economies in the world. And he also talked about ASEAN and India's relation. Dear friends, this is a map of ASEAN. This is the logo of ASEAN. ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Do pay or do spend quality time after this map. Do go through all the 10 countries, right? Do observe their location. Do use various different maps. Use political map, physical map, right? Of course, you will appreciate that it is not possible for me in this short period of time to take you through everything, but I can provide you hint, and if required in future, we will have a sort of we'll spend some 5-10 minutes. But this is not the first time, right? We have talked about this thing in detail in our previous discussions too, so this is the reason I am refraining myself from repeating it. Here you have ASEAN cultural ties. Our external affairs minister has said that the relationship that we have with ASEAN is not just 25-year-old, right? This is, you see, Buddhism. It all started in India. Now you have all these ASEAN countries. Most of the ASEAN countries are following Buddhism. They come here in India. This is a cultural tie, historical tie that connects India and ASEAN countries. Buddhism and Ramayana are quite famous, and you have Indonesia. It is a Muslim nation. It has a connection with our country too, and these are the other things that connects both this. Apart from that, SAARC can learn from ASEAN. A diplomat has said that how SAARC can learn from ASEAN, and the way ASEAN, see, regional organizations are designed to fail because neighbors, they do have some sort of problems with each other, but ASEAN is such a group that is a very good example for the whole world that regional groupings can succeed. It has 10 members, this ASEAN, and you have this Indian influence in, apart from Vietnam, all other ASEAN countries, their cultural base has something to do with India. Again, you can join this thing with Buddhism, Ramayana and things like that, right? So these are the things. He talked about RCEP as well. He said that if India is not going to join it, when India will join this thing, this free trade agreement between ASEAN and RCEP, then for a short term it has to pay some price, but it is going to be beneficial for India in the long term. This is SAARC countries here, right? You have 8 SAARC countries which are given here. And then this one is about Hadia's case, right? Supreme Court has asked National Investigation Agency to leave Hadia alone. And this one is about we have got a new Chief Election Commissioner, O.P. Rawat, the person that you can see on your screen. He is the new Chief Election Commissioner. Regarding Aadhaar card, Chandrachud has said, Justice Chandrachud has said that what is wrong with seeding Aadhaar, because at present we are living in extremely networked world and our data is already in the hands of private entities. This is from Philippines, right? A lava fountain shot, and it has killed, not killed, but this firework was up to 700 meters. So you can imagine, because of ring of fire, you find this sort of things. These are your answers, right? Very quickly, and these are your questions, dear friends. I'm sorry I won't be able to take you through the questions. Please download this file and go through it, and don't forget to pass me your valuable answer. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn the notification bell on. And of course, dear friends, up to 40% discount is going on, so make sure you just log on to our StudyIQ.com website. You'll find your a relevant exam, and all you have to do is place order online. Make sure 27th is the last date for up to 40% discount. You can follow me on my Facebook page, which is Prashant Imani. Don't forget to give us your like, and do help other students too by sharing this lecture, maybe in PDF or lecture video, and this will help them a lot. Enjoy your studies, dear friends. I will see you all soon. Jai Hind. Goodbye for now.